Hello everybody, welcome to a Nathan Talks game review. And this week we're going to talk about this one. Shadows Over Camelot by Days of Wonder. Dark times have befallen your fair land of Camelot. The once peaceful land has been struck by war. The Saxons raid your shores, while the Picts charge at your fair city from the mountains. A mysterious black knight has challenged your king. The once loyal Lancelot has gone rogue, and Excalibur is drifting out of your reach, ever farther. The quest for the Holy Grail is shrouded in despair. Truly shadows rise over Camelot. But fear not, heroes have also arisen. And you, in this game, will play as those heroes. The Knights of the Round Table, led by the brave King Arthur. So now you know your goal as a loyal knight. To defend Camelot from all these trials that face it. The only question now is how. Join me as I show you how to play this game. Shadows Over Camelot is a game for 4 to 7 players, as I'm going to describe it today. There are special rules included for 3 players. I will not talk about those. But if you have your copy of the game, feel free to open it to the very end, and there you will find the special rules for 3 players. Again, not talking about that. So this is what the game board looks like when set up for 4 players. Each player has this knight card. You probably can't read it. So over here is a picture of the knight. Over here is their special ability at the top. And then all this down here is just references. This section is the same on every knight, and it just reminds you of some of the most important rules. Each knight also has this dice, or die, because I'm holding one. You do not roll this dice. You just set it up so that the number of hit points you have is facing up, or the number of life points as it is described in the rules. Each player starts with 4 life points, and I will explain what those are for in a minute. Each player also has a hand of white cards. See these cards with white backs? They come from this deck. Each player gets 5 normal white cards, shuffled and dealt randomly. And then every player will start with 1 Merlin card. You will notice it because it has a picture of a wizard on it. And this card is very powerful, but each player only starts with 1, and there are very few left in the deck after that, so just use that wisely. I'll explain how to use all of these cards in a little bit. Each player will be dealt a loyalty card. So there are 8 of these included in the game. 7 are loyal, like the one I'm showing right now. They're blue. And then 1 will be red, like this. This card indicates that you are the traitor, and you are actually not trying to win the game. If everyone loses the game, you reveal this card, and surprise, surprise, you actually won the game. So there is a chance that no one will be the traitor. In that case, everyone is working together toward the same goal. But in this sample play, Percival, who has the white knight figure, will be our traitor. So, each player, starting with King Arthur, the red figure, will take a turn. Each turn consists of 2 steps. During the first step, you will progress evil. You will do something that hurts the team. Everyone has to do these progression of evil actions. However, on your turn, you get to choose which one you do. And then the second step will be a heroic action. This will be something to help the team. Everyone must do one, including our traitor. So, starting with King Arthur, who is always the red figure, each player will take a turn. Players continue taking turns until either the knights have won by completing enough quests, or until the knights have lost. So, it's just normal turns throughout the whole game. So once you understand how these turns work, you understand most of the game. So on your turn, you do 2 actions, 2 things. The first of which is the progression of evil. The progression of evil actions do something that hurts the whole team. Everyone has to do these actions on every turn. So this is good news for the traitor, and good news for any other forces of evil, if no traitor exists. But it is bad news for the loyal knights. However, on each player's turn, they also do a heroic action, something that will help the team. And you do them in that order. Starting with King Arthur, play goes clockwise as each of the knights take a turn. Each turn has 2 steps. The progression of evil, which will complete an action that does something bad for the whole team. Except, of course, our traitor, who likes it when bad things happen to the team because that is his win condition. But for the rest of our knights, these progression of evil events are very bad. On each turn, each knight must also complete a heroic action. These are the things you do to try to patch up the seams and stop these shadows from overtaking Camelot. Although the actions happen in that order, first evil actions, then heroic actions, I'm going to talk about the heroic actions first, as you need to understand those to understand why the progression of evil events are bad. So, everyone starts in Camelot. So one example of a heroic action is to go on a quest. The quests are these little sections here. This is a quest. This is a quest. These 2 quests are actually exactly the same in how they work. It's just 2 different armies that are attacking Camelot. And I'll explain that right now, actually. So, one heroic action is to move to a quest. Then it comes back around, and it's this player's turn again. To complete the quest, they have to play all these cards. Each quest says what cards it needs. For this quest, we need a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. So, for this knight, the Black Knights, next 5 turns, he will be playing cards that progress this quest. Once he plays all 5 cards, he wins the quest. Each quest has a win condition, a win reward. Right here in this little white box, I will show you on this quest. There's the white box that has the win reward. These white swords are just points. If you get enough of these, you win the game. These are the cards. You can draw a bunch of cards from completing a quest. These are life points. One of the only ways to get life points is to win a quest. And then this is a special reward, which I'll talk about in a second. And those boxes are on every quest. So to win either one of these 2 battle quests, you need to play 1 through 5. in your from your hand. Now, this knight only has 1 through 3. So if he went on this quest, first turn he would move, second turn he would play the 1, then he would play the 2, then he would play the 3. During that time, King Arthur can send him other cards. King Arthur is the only person who can give you cards without being in the same space. So, if another knight wanted to help, they could come to the same spot and also play cards. King Arthur can send cards to someone from Camelot. That is something only King Arthur can do. Another quest is this one. This is fighting the Black Knight. It's similar to these quests, except it says AABB instead of numbers. So this, you can play any 2 pairs of cards to win. Also, in this one, only 1 knight may go. Whereas in this one, as I was just showing you, 2 different knights could go help. Another quest that only 1 knight may go on is the quest to fight Lancelot. To fight Lancelot, you need 3 of one number and 2 of a different number. You may know this as a full house from poker. So if you have those cards, you might want to go on this quest and fight Lancelot. There is the Holy Grail quest, which has these Grail cards. If you have a lot of these, you might want to go on this quest. This quest is another quest that more than 1 knight may go on. As many knights as you like would go on that quest. You play Holy Grail cards going this way. If you get all the way to the end with Holy Grail cards, then you win this quest. And the final quest is over here, the quest for Excalibur. To do this quest, you simply move your knight here and discard any card you want to move the sword this way. If it hits the blue platform, then you win the quest. Again, there are cards in the black deck that'll start moving it this way. If it hits the red platform, I'm sorry, I have that backwards. If you discard cards, it goes this way. If it hits the red platform, you actually win the quest. Forget what I said a second ago. And if these black cards appear, maybe I can find one right now. Maybe not. One of these, yeah, Excalibur, that'll move Excalibur back. Now these ones, the Despair ones, will start stacking up this way on this quest. And then these Black Knight cards will start playing over here to make the quest harder. So those are all the different quests you can go on for your heroic action. Also, as a heroic action, you may accuse someone of being the traitor. If they are the traitor and you accuse them, then they flip over their card to the traitor side and have weaker abilities that they can do. Their evil actions are weaker, but they do not have to do good actions anymore if they're flipped over. So the traitor may choose to reveal themselves if they want to stop doing good actions, but since your evil actions do get weaker, I would advise the traitor to stay loyal to look loyal for as long as possible. And when they have their good actions, I would just advise them to try to kind of waste the action. Do something that doesn't really help the team the most. And that's really all you need to do as the traitor. Just don't do the most helpful thing you can do. because the game is already kind of working against the team. Speaking of these evil actions, I'm going to explain these now. So before you do your heroic action on your turn, you must do an evil action. There are 3 different evil actions. You may either draw 1 black card and put it in the appropriate place. You may add a catapult to attack Camelot. There are these catapults here. Or you may lose a life point, rotating your dice to the appropriate side. So black cards will tell you what to do on them. They prohibit certain quests. However, the special black cards will do something bad to everyone. So you may think that's the worst option. Siege engines. They do nothing when they come out. So you may think that's a better option. However, if there are 12 siege engines on the board, these should be facing Camelot, at the same time, then the Loyal Knights immediately lose the game. And removing a siege engine is very hard. To remove a siege engine, you need to be in Camelot, or at the round table. I think the whole place is Camelot. And you need to play cards. So let's say I was going to fight the siege engine with these 2 cards. A 2 and a 3. That equals 5. Then I roll the dice. If you roll lower than your fight cards, then you remove the engine. So you want to play as many as possible to make it more likely to win. Because I rolled a 7 here, and that's higher than my fight cards, I lose my fight cards, lose a life point, and do not destroy the catapult. So, fighting catapults is one of the riskiest things you can do in this game. So you may be tempted to place catapults instead of drawing black cards, but they do come with their own consequences. And then the third option is just lose a life point. Again, this does nothing immediately. However, if you have 1 life point, then you lose another life point, you die. So it's really balancing all 3 of these actions. Because you don't want to fill up all the siege engines. You don't want to just draw black cards, especially if you're working on a quest really hard. You don't want to get the black cards that'll stop you. And then also, you don't want to die. When you win a quest, you grab these white swords to place around the round table. When there are 12 swords, the game is over. If the majority of the swords are white, when the game is over, then the Loyal Knights win the game. However, if you lose a quest, then black swords will be placed. So there will be a mix of them around the table. If there are ever 7 black swords, then you lose the game, because there's no way you will have the majority when you have 12. Also, you lose the game if this area fills up with catapults, or if everyone dies except the traitor, or even including the traitor. If the traitor is dead but then everyone else is also dead, technically the traitor has won the game. So the only way to win the game is to get the majority of these white swords. Now, if you accuse someone of being the traitor for your heroic action, and they are not the traitor, a white sword will flip to a black sword. This is the only way swords flip in the game. Because if you accuse someone of being the traitor, and they are the traitor, you grab a white sword from the pile. So, as far as strategy goes in this game, you should do a lot of talking, because chances are a lot of other knights have the same goal as you do. Your strategy should be to watch what black cards come out, and then go to those quests and then win them. Because if you go to a quest where no black cards are, then black cards are being drawn for different quests, and you can lose a quest with no one being there. If you're the trader, here's some strategy information. First, be very strict about the rules if you're the trader, because the rules kind of work for the trader. So, for example, if somebody plays a card, and then they're like, oh, I meant to play a different card, then that is against the rules. So as the trader, you can be the person who's like, hey, you took your hand off the card. However, everyone should be doing this, to be fair, but the trader should pay special attention to the rules as they help him. Also, traders should move a lot, since the moving action does the least to help the win condition. So move a lot, and then really just make sure that your heroic actions are inefficient. And you will see how to do this as the game goes on. If it's your first game and you figure out you're the trader, just don't be too obvious about it. It's pretty easy to hide the fact that you're a trader, since everyone is doing evil actions. And that is most of my strategy advice. The rest of my strategies I will keep to myself in case I ever play a game of Shadows Over Camelot with you. So in conclusion, this is a really good game. I like teaching this game to new people because of the cooperative aspects. When I explain the game to people, we can really get started right away, and then on their turn, I can give them advice on a turn-by-turn basis. Now, there was one time when I explained the game to people, and I was the trader. But I still gave them the best advice for their turns, just on my turns, I was less than optimal. And that's kind of a thing you need to wrestle with if you're the trader and the person who is the most experienced with the game. But anywho, this game is about an hour long, even if you're experienced. So give a little bit more than an hour if it's anybody at the table's first time playing the game. So this is really a long game. This isn't a filler game. This is really the keynote game of a game night. So this game also scales really well for any of those numbers between 4 and 7. I have played the 3-player variant. It's alright. I like how they handle it. But if you have 3 players, I would not play Shadows Over Camelot. Unless you're really excited to get started. I would play with more people. But like I said, it scales really well as you go from player to player. Also, if a player drops out of the game, nothing is ruined. So in a lot of games, like Settlers of Catan, if somebody leaves, then their pieces on the board ruins the game. You can't really finish it well. But in Shadows Over Camelot, since the gameplay has everyone doing evil actions and good actions, somebody can leave the game without changing it for everyone else. The game does provide for that very well, better than any other game I've seen. I really like the miniatures in this game and the artwork. It really brings you into Camelot, and I think if the artwork wasn't good, the gameplay of playing pairs and full houses would feel off, but since the artwork is so good, I mean, it really just feels like you're going on these quests. And it's very strategic with the cards and the numbers, but because there's so much artwork, you can really have that feeling of being Knights of Camelot. This is a very good thematic game. The miniatures come unpainted, so if you are one to paint miniatures, you can really go at it. They're very good canvases. So very good for teaching new people. Good keynote game. So this is really the big game of your game night. Unless you have like a full game day with multiple keynote games, but that is besides the point. So yeah, it is a long game. So really have people who are committed to it, and you will have a great time. Also, at the beginning when you deal loyalty cards, it tells you to shuffle all 8 cards, no matter how many players you have. I never do this. I do one of the variants in the back, where you have a loyalty card per person plus the trader card. So there's a 50-50 chance of there being a trader instead of a much lower chance. And I feel like this really adds to the game. 50-50 chance of being of somebody being a trader. Because then, throughout the entire game, you can accuse somebody of doing something because they're a trader. And that's really the best part of this game. So even though it plays like a cooperative game, like Pandemic, what Shadows Over Camelot has that the base game of Pandemic doesn't have is this trader element. So I say take out a couple loyalty cards to make there a greater chance of somebody being a traitor, because that's really one of the funnest parts of this game. Accusing everyone of doing something because they are a traitor. So, in stars, I give this 5 out of 5 stars. This is really a very, very good game. I always enjoy playing it. Good components, good rules. It's a really good for new people. Also good for game veterans. And that was Shadows Over Camelot by Days of Wonder. Thank you.